everyone, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Alice and thank you for watching. Now if you come through Tasteful Touches blog hop, welcome those, and to my returning viewers, welcome to you too. So today I'll be using the Boho Indigo stamp set, and I'll be using the sentiments from the Peaceful Moments, and I will be using one of the frames for the Ornate layer dies. So without further ado, let's get started. Okay, for today's project, we're actually making an easel card. So I've seen them before and I thought, wow, I have to make one. So I've never made one before, so we'll see how we go today. So just getting your standard card base. For those that are Aussies, it's the standard 14.9 centimeters by 10.5 centimeters, and those in inches, it's 5.25 by 4 inches. So I'm just grabbing the front panel. I'm going to score it halfway, so it's about 7.3 centimeters, or your 2 5/8 of an inch. Don't worry, I will have the measurements in my blog post or the description below. So I'm just using my bone folder just to give it a nice score, and there you go. That is the base of our easel card. Okay, so we'll bring back the pieces. So we've got the obviously the base, which is a Night of Navy. Just to save some paper, I actually do use the inside because it's a layering piece. I've used some Boho Indigo piece cutout die cuts, just so I don't waste my paper. And I've used a Whisper White second layer. I did cut out another piece of Night of Navy with the Ornate layer dies, and I used a scallop die to cut out from the same Whisper White. Again, you'll be layering it, so you won't actually see that I've cut out the middle bit. No one's none the wiser, but you've saved yourself a bit of paper. So who doesn't love to save a bit of money and paper? And I did get that little tip from Connie Stewart. So I'm bringing out the Boho Indigo stamp set now, and I'm going to do some stamping. Okay, so we're ready to stamp. So I'm going to actually use the vase and the little branches stamp from this stamp set. I love this, and it's actually going to fit our Whisper White piece perfectly. So you'll sort of see that I've lined it up, and I just want to make sure that it does fit, and yay, it does. So we're going to bring in our Night of Navy and the Pepper Zaz. I love Pepper Zaz. It's a beautiful colour and actually adds a bit more, otherwise it would be a monotone card. But I'm just getting my ink pad ready, and I thought I'll tap it on, and I thought, no, let's change my mind. Let's tap the stamp set instead. So I'm just checking to make sure I've inked that up properly, and I want to line that up and stamp that and hope that I haven't blotched it up. Yay, it looks good. Okay, and I'll just put that to the side, mount up my branches. I want to close up that Night of Navy ink. I get ink all over my fingers. If you've watched me, you've seen me get ink everywhere. I put these dangerous things aside. Okay, so we're just going to line up our branches in the Pepper Zaz and place that, and bang, perfect. So I'm really happy with that too. So again, closing the ink pad. Okay, so I'm bringing my sentiment piece. It's a thank you from Peaceful Moments. This is a fantastic stamp set, perfect, lots of different variety of sentiments in there, highly recommended. So I want to stamp the thank you in the Night of Navy. I did bring out the Pepper Zaz, but I decided to go with the Night of Navy. So I'm just going to ink that, and I am going to stamp that on the more towards the right, because I'm going to put a paper flower on the left. So let it see, that looks good, and I'm happy with that. Okay, so that's the stamping done. So let's bring back our pieces. So we've got the front panel of our easel card. Again, the Night of Navy layering pieces. Like I said, I did cut out the bits and pieces just so I can make the most of my paper. And that's the Whisper White piece. And we're going to layer the Ornate layers on top of that. So I'm looking at going, yep, pretty happy with how that's going to look. So let's bring out our Tombow glue and stick all our pieces together. So I was just dusting off, there was a couple of marks on that Whisper White, so I just want to make sure I get a nice piece. Even though I'm layering it, I still don't want any yucky bits hanging out from anywhere. So once I'm happy with that, I'll glue that on. So while I'll glue these pieces on, if you haven't subscribed already, please hit the subscribe button and get a thumbs up if you like the video. Being a new YouTuber, I really do appreciate all the support, so thank you, and hope you guys are enjoying my videos. So I'm just going to glue this on, and I decided then to, with the front piece with the stamped image, I decided to use some dimensionals just to pop it up and make it a bit more interesting. I wanted this front piece to look like, I guess, a frame or a picture frame for an easel, so hoping that that looks okay. So sticking lots of dimensionals on. So does anyone else get the backing of those dimensionals all over your house? I mean, I find them everywhere. So, I mean, I throw them in the bin, but somehow those backings end up downstairs in the kitchen, in the loo. I don't know, must be me. I'm just a messy crafter, but these backings get everywhere. Okay, so I'm thinking that I'm going to start, stick my card front onto the card easel, and I start, and just as I put glue on, I realise, hang on, I need to stick my paper flowers on. I thought once it's on that, stuck on that easel, it's going to be a lot harder to stick on. So I bring out my paper flowers, and then I'm like, let's bring out the small one, and I bring out my glue dots as well, and I start playing around and positioning those. So here I am, just sort of going, trying to make it look random but still look pretty, and I was deciding still whether I do 3 or 5, and then I'm like, no, that looks too crowded, I'm just going to stick to 3. And trying to play around with it and to see what looks nice. So once I'm happy with where I want to place them, I will use my glue dots and use that to stick them on. So here I am, just finding my glue dots, and I'm like, where did I put that again? So, and then I'm like, yep, that goes there. So yep, I'm happy with that. Stick that on, and then we can actually go and stick the card onto the front of our panel. So yes, that's done. Right, so now we're ready to stick our front of the panel onto the base. So I'm just going to line myself up, and this is what the card's actually going to look like once it's flat. So we'll hold it down a little bit just to make sure it's stuck on before I let go. And that's how it's going to look. So now I'm going to look at how I actually want my little sentiment to go. So I'm getting my sentiment and I'm placing it on my card insert, and when I put the paper flower on there, I'm like, that looks too plain. So I'm going to bring out a scrap piece of Night of Navy, and I actually use a die set from the Tasteful Touches to cut out my sentiment piece, but I want a matte piece. So I'm actually just going to glue it on to my scrap piece of Night of Navy, and then I'm just going to fussy cut around it. That's probably the easiest way to do it, and that looks a lot better, but I'm thinking that, you know what, my flower needs to be blue as well. So I'm just going to colour it in. I don't have the stamp markers for this. The Stampin' Blends. So I'm actually just going to make my own. I've just inked the corner of my acrylic block, and I put out some scrap paper and a water painter, and I am just going to use a bit of water to colour in my paper flower. So I decided to go Night of Navy. I could have probably done another colour, but I wanted it all to match. So I'm pretty happy in how that's worked out, because I think the white was just didn't pop. So I'm just colouring it in, didn't have to use much ink at all, and then I want to put that aside to dry. Okay, so I'm going to bring back my sentiment piece. I've fussy cut that off screen, just so you don't have to watch that painful cutting. And then I'm just going to use some mini glue dots to glue on my paper flower. Now I did have a bit of smudging. Somehow must have just got ink somewhere, so I have to position the flower to cover up that little smudge bit. But that's okay. Nothing a bit of embellishment can't fix. And I'm going to bring back my card insert, and now I'm just going to position where I want the sentiment to sort of sit. That when you open up, you can sort of place the easel card there. So happy with that, and I want to bring in a pencil just to mark that into place, because I'm pretty happy with that angle. Okay, so I'm happy with that, and I want to bring out the dimensionals. So I decided to actually then use the edge pieces. I think with the sentiment, I do want it nice and stuck on and no gaps in the sides. So I did cut out the edges. So you guys use your edges too. Yeah, make sure you use the most of your materials and get every last scrap of piece as you can, and make the most of it. Save yourself a couple of dollars. So I do bring that out, and look at me go. All those edges. Feel like I'm saving myself $1. Buy myself another cup of coffee. Actually, a cup of coffee costs more than $1 these days as well. Anywho, I'm just blubbering now. So just putting a couple more dimensionals just to make sure that I'm happy that it's going to be secure. So as I'm cutting, as I stick this on, I'll stick my card base on first, and you'll see me sort of glue this on. And then once I glue it on, I realise this is too much white. This is not popping. So you sort of see me glue this on, and then I thought, hang on, I don't like the way this looks. It needs a matte piece. So then I managed to peel off that Whisper White piece. So lucky the glue hadn't quite dried. So I'm bringing in a Night of Navy piece. As always, making the most of my paper. I did cut out a piece of Ornate, a die to cut out that in the middle bit, because you're only going to see the little border of it. So I'm just going to glue that on, and then I'll bring back that Whisper White. I did cut it down a little bit as well, just so it fits, and I'll have the full measurements down below, but I ended up cutting that down a little bit, and then using some liquid glue to glue that back on. And then you'll sort of see now that it has a nice Night of Navy border, and that's looking a lot better. I'm much happier with that than the white on white. So that is now looking good. Just using my bone fold again, had a bit of curling at the edges, so I do like to flatten that out. And now I'm bringing back my sentiment, and I'm just going to just glue that just a little bit on top of the pencil mark, and that way it saves me from rubbing off the pencil mark. And I did have to trim the top of that edge a little bit, and now I'm happy, so I'm just patting that down. Don't want to smudge the ink, and that is how it looks. So I'm pretty happy with the position of that. I've just turned it to the side because I did have a bit of a shadow, and I am happy with that. Just making sure that it folds up nicely, and just going for a bit of a test run here. So I am happy with that. So thank you very much for watching, guys, and please give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in my next video. And don't forget to vote for me in the Kylie blog hop. Thanks everybody. Until next time, stay safe.